I, 20 female, have always been close to my brother Alan, nearly adult. We've been friends since the day he was born, and though he gets on my nerves as most brothers do, I still love him more than anything and like having him around. When I moved out of our parents' house at 18, I left my brother with a spare key and told him he could come over whenever he wanted or needed to. Since I moved out, Alan has come around to my apartment pretty much every day. He and our parents have been arguing a lot lately, and my apartment has become his safe haven when he needs it to be. Lately, their arguments have been getting increasingly worse. Most of the conflict has come from our dad, honestly. He's had an issue with the way Alan dresses and expresses himself. A month ago, Dad found an eyeshadow palette in Alan's room and decided to destroy it because he didn't think his son should be wearing makeup. Alan was really devastated, and so to try and cheer him up, I bought him some other palettes and told him that he could keep his makeup and stuff at my place so that our parents wouldn't find out. We've been doing this for a while, so all of Alan's stereotypically feminine belongings, dresses, makeup, etc., are kept in my house for him to have when he comes over. A few days ago, my brother called me crying and said that our parents were yelling at him for continuously disobeying their rules about the things he's allowed to wear and do. Our dad said nasty things that I can't type out without risking deletion, but they were bad. I went over there and got my brother so that I could drive us home. He said he isn't planning on going back for a while, and I honestly don't blame him. He stopped answering our mom's calls and texts, so she started calling me instead. She told me that I needed to convince my brother to come home and stop enabling all the things he's doing that we were raised to disagree with. She thinks I'm undermining her and my father's authority by supporting Alan's choices, and that they both want what's best for their son at the end of the day. I told her that if they keep bullying their child for trying to be himself, they're going to end up not having a son to worry about at all, because ignorance like theirs has sent people to their graves, and I, for one, will never forgive her if I have to see Alan's name etched in stone. I guess my mom told her sister what happened, because then my aunt texted me to say that I was an awful person for saying such a horrible thing to my mother, and that even if I think the way my parents are handling this doesn't seem right, Alan is still their child, and me saying I'd blame them if something happened to him is cruel. Apparently so cruel that Mom's been crying about it ever since. I just want to know if I went too far with my words, or if it was something my mom needed to hear. Not the idiot. Whether he's going through a phase or discovering his identity, he's not harming anybody. Them stressing him out, however, them forcing him to do and be something he doesn't want to be, is extremely mentally debilitating for him. You being there for him and supporting his choices are his only light in this dark tunnel around him. If they don't accept him or learn to live with his choices, they will lose him as a son. And if they keep pushing you to be the same, they may lose you as their child as well. Agree. Telling her she's about to lose him should be a wake-up call for her. Honestly, I'd send her all the information I could find on the realities of this situation. She's convinced that they're doing what's right, but there have been many parents who didn't really believe how bad it could be until it was too late. Good for you for getting him out of that toxic situation and supporting him. OP, please protect your brother. Where are you? Depending on the state, there are still things like conversion camps if you're in the US. You must call DCF and file charges if you're in those states. You need to make sure they cannot force him into a program. In some states at his age, he's an adult for everything but child abuse and medical. We are in the States, but he's turning 18 in a week, and he's already finished with high school, so I'm assuming there's nothing our parents can really do at this point, as he's essentially an adult. If they do try something, though, I'm definitely going to file a report. I, 40 male, and my wife, 41, have been married for 12 years. We have a daughter and a son together. Our daughter's pre-tween and wanted a Nintendo Switch for her birthday. My wife got laid off from her job and became more frugal with money. I'm still working and am happy to provide for the family. I have no issue with saving money. We have been planning our daughter's birthday party, and my wife has made it clear that the budget is $50. She bought all the decorations from the dollar store, which I didn't see an issue with. She told my daughter she could only invite 5 of her friends, as it would save money on the amount of food we would have to spend. I bought the cake and the pizza. My daughter told us that she wanted a Nintendo Switch. My wife looked up the price for one and told her it was too expensive. I found a Switch online for a good price and purchased it. Her birthday party was this past weekend. She was so excited seeing that we got her a Switch. When everything calmed down, my wife started yelling at me for purchasing the console. I told her that I got the system for a good price. Our daughter started school this year. When I picked her up from school, she went up to her bedroom to play with the Switch. She starts crying and tells me the Switch is missing. I looked through her entire room and couldn't find it anywhere. My wife comes home, handed me some money, and tells me that she sold the Switch and got the money back. I started screaming at her for selling the Switch and upsetting our daughter. Her reasoning was that our daughter wasn't letting her brother use the console and that I spent money we didn't have. She packed a bag and is currently staying with her sister. I've purchased my daughter another Switch along with some games. Sister-in-law thinks I'm being a horrible husband and not respecting my wife's decision to save money. Am I the idiot? So, to recap, you bought your daughter a gift that she wanted. Your wife threw a fit because you can't afford it, and instead of taking the issue out on you, or temporarily making a budget change to recap the loss, though it seems money isn't a huge issue, she instead took it out on your daughter and returned the gift? Hard not the idiot, solely for the fact she took it out on her daughter. Agree. To me, they aren't living paycheck to paycheck. A Switch costs anywhere from $150 to $250, and sure, that's not a small chunk of change, but it's not life-changing money. If they can afford to save, he's not doing something that indicates that they'll go homeless if they buy their daughter a birthday present she really wants. The wife was so far out of line. I can't even. Returning the console on day 2 or 3, she was intent on punishing both you and your daughter, using "she's not sharing" as an excuse. And there's really no excuse for what she did. Returning the child's gift after it had been gifted was cruel. Your wife is clearly way more stressed out about money than you are. Does she know something you don't? She might have some secret debt. Everyone's the idiot here. You two are married or divorced. Where's the communication? Why is your wife so paranoid about finances while you're seemingly blasé? You two need to be on the same page, not going behind each other's backs because you think you're right and the other's wrong. My husband of 8 years desperately wanted a dog and refused to wait until we bought our own home. He ended up getting a dog despite me saying no. I wasn't sure of our apartment's pet policy, so I told him he needed to call and ask them. He claimed he did, but I found out months later that we have a strict no dogs allowed policy here. We ended up getting evicted. At this point, he's had this dog for over a year, and I admittedly had been telling him to rehome the dog the entire time for other reasons. I certainly was not anywhere close to being ready for a dog, on top of living in a tiny apartment with 3 children as it was. His reasoning for going against me was that the dog was free. His mother gave him the dog, and due to the breed usually being super expensive, he couldn't pass it up, which is 100% the truth, no doubt. So we get evicted, not due to the animal, he hit the dog, but to them raising our rent by $600 over the past year and being unable to afford it. So anyways, we're back to house searching again. We only have 14 days left before we need to vacate the premises. Our landlord has been super nice during this and says they won't put the eviction on our record because we were otherwise good tenants, and she understands times are hard enough without an eviction on our record. So we've been searching high and low, but every single available place either has a strict no pets or is way too high priced for us. The only ones we can afford are the ones that say no pets. I was asked by a landlord yesterday for a down payment to a 3-bedroom, $800 cheaper than what we're currently paying, and with school starting in a week, I need to jump on this now. We've gotten no other offers. My husband wants to lie and say we don't have a dog. I refuse to do this. I'm not getting evicted over an animal that we should have waited to get in the first place. I told him he couldn't move in with me unless he got rid of the dog or sent it off with a family member until we bought a house. He's now trying to convince me to move in with his family, which I won't do. He says I'm being insensitive and I'm not empathetic to his love for this dog. This isn't true. but I also have to worry about my kids and their stability versus putting my husband and his animal first. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I don't want to jump right to divorce him, but I also really want to jump right to divorce him. I'm an animal lover, but I would never risk my living situation just to have an animal around. Can he go volunteer at a local animal shelter or something? I think OP's solution of grabbing the apartment she can afford and moving with her kids is the best. The husband can find his own accommodations with his dog and reflect on what's more important. He actually sounds as if he'll choose the dog over the family, but at least it'll be out in the open. It's shocking that he's more focused on the dog than the well-being of his kids. He went behind your back to get the dog, especially after you said to check the rental agreement. He lied. You don't actually have a problem with the dog, and honestly, from the sounds of it, you like the dog, but you're looking out for your 3 children, which should be your priorities. Yeah, the with 3 children line was my spit take moment. Until then, I figured this was a 20-year-old dimwit who had just moved out of his parents' house. I'm a dog lover, but I am against people owning dogs when they can't provide proper care. Money's tight, and you have 3 kids. He shouldn't have taken the dog from his mother. I hope you find the dog a better home. When our kids were growing up, my wife had a lot of rules regarding what media she'd let into the house. The main thing was that she didn't want any villain toys or stuff. So anytime our son got a Darth Vader or Joker or whatever toy for a birthday or Christmas, she'd toss it out and lecture our son before replacing it with something acceptable. This was one of the many factors that led to our divorce and contributed to why our 2 children mostly live with me. They spend 1 week a month with my ex. This didn't matter as much during our marriage for my daughter Sarah. People don't usually give girls Maleficent or Ursula dolls. Not even sure if they make those, but my daughter has a big fixation on Wanda from the MCU. Of course, she's never out and out said it, but I'm pretty sure Avengers 2 was how my daughter realized she liked girls. Regardless, Sarah is nearly an adult and still has a massive Wanda collection. Every toy, piece of art, mug, you name it, she's got it, which has never been a problem until now, because my ex finally saw Multiverse of Madness and she knows Wanda's a villain now, and my daughter's social media means she knows I haven't done a thing about her room. My ex exploded. Phone calls, texts, emails, trying to sick her friends and family on me. Genuinely, I think she took my saying I wanted a divorce better than she's been taking me letting Sarah keep her collection. Normally I'd let it wash over me, but this is clearly bothering her a lot. Like a lot. And while I'd never ask Sarah to throw away or get rid of anything, I'm a little worried that letting her keep it all could either negatively impact my ex's mental health or be setting my kids up for a bad time at her house. I recognize that my ex is unreasonable, but am I being the idiot for just ignoring her? Not the idiot. You all are lucky you don't live in the MCU, because your ex's no villains policy sounds like the start of Sarah's villain origin story in and of itself. Whatever this triggers for her is something she needs to work out in therapy, not take out on Sarah. Your daughter's mental health is essential, and throwing out all of Wanda's/Scarlet Witch's stuff will affect your daughter and your daughter's relationship with you. Tell X she can control what items come into her home, but she's to butt out of what is in your home, as long as it's not causing your kids any physical harm. Your daughter's old enough now that if mom becomes unbearable, she can refuse to go and is less than a year away from becoming an adult. She can then decide if she wants to continue to have a relationship with her mother, go low contact, or cut off communication completely. And making her throw away stuff could also send a message that you disagree with her orientation, which, again, could adversely affect her mental health and your long-term relationship with her. What does your ex think will happen if your kids have merchandise like that? That they're going to spontaneously get powers and vaporize her? Is this like a religious thing with your ex? I'm simply trying to understand because this sounds insane. It makes total sense why you're divorced. Your ex sounds like a whack job. I'm divorced and remarried. We had 2 sons who are currently 26 and 21. My wife also has a daughter who's 21. With my current wife, I have 1 son, 15. My ex and I lived paycheck to paycheck when our kids were little, especially our oldest. When we established ourselves professionally, we could do more, but they both remembered what it was like not to have a lot. My stepdaughter is also very aware of cost and appreciative of things. Because my wife and I are both doing very well, we've been able to give our son a lot. I'm talking expensive game systems, software, telescope, binoculars, high-end cameras, expensive trips, a fancy bike, and it just goes on and on. My oldest son was over last night and told a story involving Christine. My youngest asked who Christine was. My oldest explained that she was his first car, an old beater. My youngest asked questions about the car and then wondered why my oldest wanted to drive something so old and goofy. He didn't mean anything by it, but I decided he needed a reality check. I told my youngest son that the beater was all that we could afford at the time. Youngest then said, "Well, you're getting me something new next year, right, Dad?" I admonished him, saying that he was acting spoiled and rubbing it in his brother's face that he won the birth order lottery. Youngest was upset by that comment and went to his room to sulk. My oldest said I was too hard on him, and my wife was angry. I just think he needs to learn to be more considerate of others. Is spoiled really such a nasty word? You are the idiot. A parent calling their child spoiled is hilarious. If they're spoiled, it's because you spoiled them. Instead of berating him, maybe you should be teaching him about hard work and the value of money. Get him a Christine next year. He'll learn real quick. You spoil the kid by buying him all the stuff his siblings couldn't have, and then expect him not to assume he'll get a better car? You've created this monster by giving him everything he wants compared to the older siblings. In many families, the income of our parents increasing doesn't say or mean the youngest gets spoiled. There were many other things you could have done with that money other than buying him toys. We all had to have jobs and learn to work part-time, no matter how much our parents made. Not the idiot. Wow, everyone here needs to chill and read more carefully. OP said he told his son he was acting spoiled. I think a teen should have a better grip than asking someone why they would drive a clunker. Also, I think instantly turning that conversation toward him getting a new car next year is a problem. Could OP have been more diplomatic about this? Probably, but I don't think the call out here is unwarranted or unreasonable. A clarifying follow-up conversation about being grateful for what they have is perhaps a good idea.